Hey, welcome to the Coach's Corner of the Indiana Ice here at Music Mill in Clearwater, north side of Indianapolis. I am Jake Query here on 1070thefan.com. My pleasure for the Coach's Corner of the Indiana Ice to be joined by who other than the head coach of your Indiana Ice, Jeff Blashill. Fresh off, boy, it's been a while since you've been back in Indy, right? You're kind of a road warrior here lately, right?
Yeah, we've been on a couple consecutive road trips out west, two consecutive 3 games, 1 and 3 and 4 nights over Thanksgiving, and then this past weekend 3 and 3 nights, and it was actually a 7 o'clock, then 3 o'clock week. So it was a tough game last Saturday, but our guys did a great job.
Of course, the Ice last year, I don't have to tell the fans, the Clark Cup champions, but let's talk a little bit about where you are right now. Here you find yourself just a couple of points out of first place in the East Division of the USHL. I think it's always tough, and this is maybe presumptuous of me, but as a coach, to get guys to maybe get motivated coming off that huge high from a year ago. Have you been happy the way your guys have responded?
I think our guys, there's such turnover in this league, and so we didn't return a great number of players. So the guys that did return, I think came back hungry. It speaks to the character, the types of players we have here. The incoming players are real similar to that. So I think we've had a good approach so far. And in this league, the teams are so close in talent. The differentiation is so minimal that a lot of times the standings are real tight, and we find it the same as that was the way it was last year. It's the same way right now, and so that makes every night a battle, and we're going to have to continue to.
You talked about the turnover in the U.S. Hockey League. Now, this is a league, obviously, where you have the future stars of hockey on their way up. They can play up until they're 21 years old, but what challenges does it present? Is it more presenting challenges for you, Coach, or is it a feeling of gratitude when you see guys move on?
I think it's, you understand it coming into the league. I played in this league. I recruited out of this league as a college assistant for a number of years and now coaching in the league. So you know that a huge part of this is the development side and preparing players to go be great at the next level, whether that be the Division I level or potentially in the NHL. And so that's a real gratifying part of it. Now there's a challenge to it. I think my second year as head coach here, it's been interesting to understand, to keep patience and realize that some of the stuff that you taught over the course of the year last year, you have to go back and really reteach it again. And so I think it's tested my patience a little bit, but I think that's something as a coach you have to continue to remind yourself to stay with the plan as you move throughout the season. And I have 2 young kids, so with my patience, I need work with that anyways. So.
Well, I would think that they're actually helping out the patients, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to handle it,
That's
but
right.
now it's
everything's
no problem.
gravy now, right?
Exactly.
All right, now when you turn on, let's say you're at home, and I know you don't get a lot of time, obviously, during the season to flip through, but if you're flipping through and you see NHL games, you're going to see some familiar faces, guys you've either seen as an opponent or even lately, guys that have played for the Ice. So, talk a little bit about seeing what it is like to see those guys from the USHL up into the NHL.
Right now, we currently have in the United States Hockey League over 100 active alums playing in the NHL. So that's a real high number of guys that are playing at that highest level. I think it speaks to what an elite league it is, to the level of player that we get in this league. There's truly on their way up. Now, not all of them make it to the National Hockey League, but They are the stars of Division I, and enough of them do make it. And then, we recently with the Ice is only in its 6th year, and we had a player just play his first couple NHL games. John Carlson was a first-round draft pick of the Washington Capitals a few years back. So I think that's even in its infancy of a young organization like the Ice, to see how quickly these guys appear in the NHL speaks to the level of play in our league.
And talking about going into an NHL franchise like Washington, obviously it's one of them that, here's one with a rabid fan base who tasted success a year ago and has been there. So expectations high already for him.
Yeah, expectations are high, and I know John John Carlson's real high on their list. We knew he was going to be their next call-up. I knew a little of that from USA Hockey, because USA Hockey hopes to have him for the World Junior Championship here, in the next month. But they certainly are real high on him, and again, that's not a rebuilding team. That's a team that wants to win the Stanley Cup right now.
When you look at the NHL and the USHL as guys, you talk about developing. What is the biggest difference in style of play, and what do players need to work on between the USHL if they want to get to that NHL level?
I think one, it's experience, and you can't teach that experience. It's got to be gained, and it's got to be gained through competing against other great level of players, and so I think they get that within our league for sure. I think just growing as a player, your skills, little skills developing, but it's also, I think probably the biggest part of it, and I've coached enough guys now that play in the National Hockey League that'll tell me that mental toughness is probably the number one thing. And there's a lot of guys in the American Hockey League, which is kind of AAA ball for the National Hockey League. There's a lot of guys in the American Hockey League that are good enough and talented enough to play in the National Hockey League but aren't mentally tough enough. And so I think the competitiveness of the USHL and the fact that our guys have to go through and compete for their position every day. Some of them have to go through sitting out games. Some of them don't get as much ice time as they'd like, but that's a mental training that's going to help them down the road in their hockey career.
And I would think camaraderie, learning how to deal with teammates, especially when you're talking about road trips where you're going, as you mentioned, the times and the travel. With all due respect, I mean, you're not hopping onto first-class planes. I mean, guys are getting on buses, you're working, and these are guys that are learning how to deal maybe with personalities and from a coaching standpoint. Meshing personalities, playing with different styles of play, different players, and a lot of turnover. That I would think that all in the end pays off for.
I think it's a huge mental training for them, and I've said it at these ages now. There's still skill development. We work today on certain skill development, shooting a puck better, skating better, all those types of things. But I think the bigger skill development at these ages is learning how to compete at the highest level every single day you practice and every single game you play in. But also the other things you're talking about, handling the travel. Playing great when you don't feel great. You know, we're going to go on a road trip and bus maybe 5 hours and go play a hockey game, but your legs aren't going to feel perfect. But you still got to be able to go out there and work and fight your way through it and maybe minimize your mistakes and still be a productive hockey player. So I think it's an outstanding training that way.
The Ice are in the middle right now. We're actually towards the tail end of a 7-game road trip. Of course, you're coming off a win in Omaha, 4-2, and you still have to go to Youngstown before you finally get back to the friendly confines here in central Indiana. But what has impressed you, or what has maybe disturbed you a little bit from a coaching standpoint of what you've seen the last couple of weeks?
I like where we're at. I like our hockey team. I think that there's individuals on our hockey team that can still play just a little bit better and still continue to improve. But that was expected at the beginning of the year, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help develop them. I think we have a team in place that can be great. When we talked about it at the beginning of the year, we need to take 1,000 little steps forward and minimize the steps we take backwards. And I think for the most part we've done that. And I thought the game on Saturday was a good message to our own players that if they come and compete as hard as they competed Saturday, we're going to be a real hard team to handle, because Omaha is the league leader. They've only lost a couple games, and I thought we really, really played very well during that stretch.
All right, if you folks want to get out a chance to watch the Ice play, we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect to see when you come out, what style of hockey you'll see. And coming off a championship, what does that mean for a young player, and where do you go from there? Where do you build? If you want your chance to see the Ice, very easy. See, this is very easy, Coach. You ready for this? Music Mill working with you. Yeah. You come to the Music Mill, and they're open. I should let you know the Music Mill open for dinner every night, 6 days a week. They open at 5 o'clock for dinner. So it's not just show nights. If you come here for dinner, you get right here a buy one, get one free. I'll give that to you, Coach. Give that to a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
A buy one, get one free ticket. So you can do that if you come here for dinner. Again, Music Mill open at 5 o'clock right up here on 82nd Street in the Clearwater area. You get the Ice ticket, you go out and you see the Ice play. Also a big New Year's Eve celebration here at the Music Mill. 3 bands going to be playing live. You can get more information from that at musicmillindy.com. All right, coming up, we'll talk to one of the Ice players. We'll talk more with Coach. This is the Coach's Corner, the Coach's Show of the Indiana Ice from the Music Mill on 1070thefan.com.